Idealized male friendship and loneliness in Of Mice and Men. So in class, we read the introduction to Tribe on homecoming and belonging, and we made a connection. So a helpful English class heuristic is everything connects with other texts until proven otherwise. And we made a connection with the introduction of Tribe and Of Mice and Men. We also talked about public health funerals. Public health funerals are this idea that when a person dies and they have no friends and they have no family, the government has to step in and deal with the funeral arrangements. These people are buried and nobody comes to the funeral. Nobody acknowledges this, or celebrates this person's life. This person is 5 times more likely to be a man. This has to do somewhat with the social world of men and women, how men and women interact with one another. So since the book is called Of Mice and Men, we focus more on the men. So the way that the social world of men work is that men tend to tend to be social in larger groups. They tend to share some activity together, and then when that activity is over with, it's difficult to recreate the friendship that existed during the activity, whether it's a sporting event or a war or a card game. It doesn't matter. It's all the same kind of idea. Men also are more likely to, and women are more likely to live alone than men, but men are 5 times more likely to die alone and unremembered than women. So we also, like I said, looked at this introduction to Tribe, and here's some excerpts. So this is where he's discussing the sheer predictability of life in the suburbs, left him desiring for something like a hurricane or a tornado in order for people to band together in order to survive. On the right-hand side of this slide were some of the notes from the class that the students shared. So we made a connection between Tribe and this idea that the idea of the farm, George and Lenny's farm, is very seductive. Candy wants a part of it. Candy's willing to pay them basically all of his money. Later on, Crooks, who is about as much of an outsider in the book as anyone can be, he wants in on the farm idea, and so he tries to convince Candy and Candy to let him join. So there's this natural urge and desire to band together and to engage in some kind of activity that is that is purposeful and meaningful and gives meaning to their lives. Another excerpt from Tribe on the left. How do you become a man in a world that doesn't require courage? So the main thrust of Tribe is in modern society, it's become relatively convenient and relatively affluent that we don't have to really demonstrate a lot of courage. We don't have to band together. And Of Mice and Men, sacrifice and courage. They want to buy this. There's this idea, this dream of the farm throughout the book, and it requires them to sacrifice. It requires them to have courage in the face of society that would say these bindle sticks, these bums, are not ever going to be able to buy a farm. Candy also steps up. He says he steps up a little bit too late. He says, I should have shot my own dog. He let some other person do it. He let Carlson do it. He let a stranger do it. That was his dog, and he had a responsibility, and he should have stepped up to that responsibility. All right, in Tribe, the speaker, it's a memoir, so it's nonfiction. So Sebastian Younger is on the side of the road, and a pickup truck full of men drive by and start throwing beer bottles at him. Many students were confused as to why people would do that. I mean, I'm also a little bit confused. Well, humans are dangerous. Humans are probably the most dangerous thing that most dangerous animal that any of us are ever going to face. The bus driver in Of Mice and Men was a little bit like this, uncaring, insensitive, dropped them off miles away. It's also struck me that this was a group of men in a pickup truck, and I wonder if it was a single man in a pickup truck, if he would have done the same thing. I do think that for better or worse, many times the social world of men is such that they will get together to engage in some kind of activity, and sometimes that activity is something that's not good. All right, and then finally, he'd taken responsibility of me. Sebastian Younger is talking about the gentleman who offered him his lunch, who offered him his food, and took responsibility for him. This connected with students. It was much like how George takes care of Lenny. It's maybe also the same thing as Carlson taking responsibility for Candy's dog. This is something a student brought up that I hadn't thought about previously. So